Good morning. I'm Jenna Wolf. That is the Hall of Famer, Chris Carter. This is a very dapper Nick Wright. What?
Oh, my lapel pin.
I haven't seen that. Usually it's the flower.
It's brand new. It's the Trinidad flag. This was given to us by friends in Trinidad that are amazingly, maybe because it's an hour later there, I'm not quite sure the reason, huge first things first fans.
What about they like you?
I didn't know the folks in Trinidad were caring so much about American sports. Those took a trip there. Some of the police officers in Trinidad pulled over their car to say, "Where's Chris Carter?" I said, "He is not with me in Trinidad," but asked about Jenna Wolf, so I wanted to represent them and their culture, and so wearing the flag this morning.
Two things that was overlooked. One, you said they probably watched because the show starts an hour later, so if the bosses are watching, if that's something you want us to do, we are happy to wrap our heads around starting an hour later. And number two, we're also big in Jamaica. On the island of Jamaica, they are big fans of First Things First.
Good to know that.
Tomorrow, I'll be draped in the Jamaican flag, where I was born, by the way, so it'll be a theme. You're next.
Welcome
CC.
to the show.
Pick a
Thank
country.
you so much. CC's big in the States.
In the States.
That's where he's big.
All of them.
That's pretty important.
All the States. Fact, the best record in the East belongs to the Toronto Raptors. Fact, the best player in the East is Cleveland's LeBron James. So Raptors versus Cleveland last night, you know, best record versus best player, and best player won. LeBron James, after allowing a season-high 79 points in the first half and trailing by 15 to the Raptors, LeBron and the Cavs took over, beating the top seed in the East, 132-129. This was a close one. LeBron, 35 points, 17 assists, 0 turnovers. Here's LeBron on if he sent a message.
No. It's a good win for us just because how depleted we are with our roster and everything that's been going on. It's a good win for us versus a very good opponent. But I don't need to remind anybody what my teams are capable of doing. So that wasn't a factor.
All right, CC, let's talk. It was a great game. This is a great game because it became a great game at the end. How meaningful was last night's game for both of these teams?
Before the game tipped off, I was getting ready to send out a tweet. This is a must-win for Toronto because I really thought it was important. Toronto was coming into Cleveland in a tough stretch, playing 3 games in 4 days. They played Sunday, lost a tough matchup, had gone to Orlando, had played the night before, so they were on a back-to-back. DeRozan didn't play in Orlando, though, so he was only playing Sunday's game and then this game. So coming into Cleveland with all the injuries, Cal Korver getting the awful news that his brother had passed away, he wasn't going to be with the team, so prayers with Cal and his family.
Of course.
Great guy. And also the team realizing, wow, something else happened. So Cleveland, during the day, they go to shoot around. They get the news that Cal's not going to be there. So they go through mourning with one of their teammates who's not going to be there after everything else that they've been through. The coach not being there, the other inconsistencies in the lineup. And then Toronto gets out to the big whopping lead. So I thought they had to win this game. It was going to follow up, wow, this is what Toronto had to do. But Cleveland's comeback, I believe, was in a must-win situation for Toronto because you could even see with the additions that Toronto has, their bench, it is stronger. Man, they are a better team, but they still don't have an answer for LeBron. Like, they don't have anyone to guard LeBron. Like, they're trying to switch up. Sherbak, he can't guard LeBron. And
Pascal Siakam was trying to check.
He gave LeBron the most problems.
Right.
You know, so I thought that was a little bit promising. But at the end of the day, I mean, LeBron has their number. Coming into this game, they were 1-7 in the last 8 games in Cleveland, the last 3 years. Now, if you can't win in Cleveland, I don't care if you have home court advantage because, to me, this is more mental than it is about what the numbers
So why do you think they're the better team?
Which team?
Toronto. You said Toronto's the better team, but they can't.
No, they're a better all-around. Like, they really are. But LeBron is their kryptonite.
Yeah.
They don't have an answer for LeBron. All around, you would take their roster. Besides LeBron, the coaching situation, Casey's done a great job there. I mean, but the numbers are just overwhelming as far as LeBron's dominance of Toronto. And I thought it was really important, too. LeBron's got a lot of new guys with him. They haven't seen LeBron do this to Toronto.
Right.
So for them, it was more like make-believe.
CC, you went into it thinking it might be a must-win for Toronto. I went into it thinking Toronto should maybe play nobody. They got the 1 seed locked up. They have nothing to gain in this game, in my eyes. They weren't going, even if they won that game, they weren't going to get a mental edge on LeBron. Maybe on some of the fringe players with Cleveland, but because Cleveland had the built-in excuses.
If they could have followed up the second half with something similar to the first half, that would have really
helped. If they'd have blown them out, sure, absolutely.
I mean, the way their bench played, because their bench players would be able to gain more confidence because they haven't been there the last 3 years.
I didn't see a blowout coming. Now, the first half, the Cavs, I sent out a tweet. I was like, I'm really impressed by the Cavs' inspired effort on defense. I mean, it was egregious defense, by the way, by both teams, essentially, in the first half. But teams. Toronto was extraordinary in the first half. I didn't see a blowout coming. And I thought maybe Toronto would say, you know what, Cleveland, we're not showing you nothing till the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to take this game off. They obviously didn't. They had their full complement of players, except for C.J. Miles, who was out. And this was the worst possible result for the Raptors. This was worse than being blown out because you had them, and then what happened? LeBron executed that zero dark 30 he talks about come the playoffs, and there was no answer. Jenna, you have asked me all year long, are you worried about the Cavs? Why are you not worried about the Cavs? That is why I've never been worried about the Cavs and this conference. Because when you have that guy, and he can do that, activate that level of play. Now, the 17 assists, 0 turnovers, even by LeBron standards, is somewhat unprecedented to go along with 35 points. But at least 90% of that is what we will expect to see from him night in, night out in the postseason. The Raptors do not have an answer. And when the game ended last night, this is what I was thinking about. When the Cavs are up 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they've won Game 4 in Cleveland, this is the game that people will remember. This is the game where Cleveland reminded everyone that if you don't have either a way to just send waves at LeBron or an overwhelming level of talent the way the Warriors do, in a playoff series, when he played 39 minutes last night. In the playoffs, he's going to play 43. So there's going to be fewer minutes where it's just Cleveland's bench against your bench. You don't have an answer for that.
After the game last night, Larry Drew, who's in for Ty Lue, who's off on medical leave, said there's always one game that you can look to over the course of the season that's a turning point game for your team. It could be early on, it could be late, it could be somewhere in the middle. But it is a significant turning point. And he said for us, with 5 players out, with our head coach who's out sick, for LeBron to come in up against this Toronto Raptors team, this was a turning point game. Do you believe that?
It was a big game for him. It was a big game. It also could be the game, too, that George Hill got back on track. Because regardless of LeBron played a once-in-a-lifetime game. We haven't seen that game. Is that true? I mean, right?
No player in NBA history has ever had more than 30 points, more than 15 assists, and 0 turnovers. It's never happened before.
Never happened. But if George Hill don't show up, like if they don't have a number 3. So for me, yeah, monumental. Yes, it was great that they got the defense and put some effort into it. But if they don't have a number 3, and I believe that to be George Hill, if they don't get that constant contribution from a number 3, I know what Love's going to give me. 18 to 24, about 8 to 12 rebounds. That's what he's going to give me. He's going to be there for LeBron. He's going to be able to knock down shots. We saw him knock down the corner shot at the end of the game there, the big 3. If Kyle Korver hits that in the finals last year,
in Game 3.
So we know we have that in Kevin Love. But if they don't have a number 3, to me, it's still, I don't care how good LeBron plays. Like, they needed that type of effort to be able to win that type of game. But they also needed that 22 from George Hill in those crucial spots.
And Sarah Kustok, who's going to join us later, she mentioned about how she thought last week when Kevin Love comes back and the spacing is that much better, that will help George Hill. That will help the backcourt, just having Love out there as a spacer.
How does it help George Hill?
Because you all of a sudden have another shooter out there that you have to be concerned with. Because LeBron is always a threat to drive, you're going to have to sag off some other players. You don't want to sag off Love because he's such a good shooter. So all of a sudden, George Hill has some more open shots. But JR had more open shots. Jose Calderon, who, by the way, I thought was going to be the 14th man on this team and consistently has been a good player.
Yeah, apologize to him.
Listen, Jose, I thought you were done. I thought you were a veteran leader. I didn't think you would be the best point guard on this team through 74 games. But there's one thing you mentioned. The pass to Love on what was essentially the game-clinching basket. They were up.
LeBron could have shot it.
LeBron could have shot it. And that play is the play that since day one of LeBron's career, he's been criticized for. LeBron's entire career, we've said, man, Kobe would have taken that shot. Mike would have taken that shot. And LeBron has refused to give in to the noise, to give in to the narrative that there is some type of sports machismo that goes along with I'm taking the last shot, as opposed to I am generating for my team the best shot.
You want him to take the shot. Well, you think he's going to take the shot.
We've been taught that that is what you're supposed to do. And by the way, Game 3 of the finals last year, he did it. And maybe if he takes a bad shot, he makes it. And maybe they win that game.
Yeah.
But LeBron is robotic in his dedication to we are making the right play. And last night was an example as to why, over the course of time, that is why, as much as any reason, that is why I believe he's the greatest player ever. Because he will make the right play no matter what the media, no matter what former players, no matter what other people say you're supposed to do in that spot.
Team first.
He got the best shot for his team. That was a huge win last night.
35 points, 17 assists, 0 turnovers. These two teams will match up again on April 3rd in Cleveland.
Took Nick 11 minutes to say he was the greatest
player of all time. Okay. I had 10, so I'm out. Dang it. All right, we'll try again tomorrow. Hey, coming up.
I told you he was going to get it in there.
I mean.